It's kind of like taking all your hate and instead of using it for like a negative force that won't really do much, turn it into a positive. It's kind of like hardcore music in general. Like a lot of that is about like hate of the government, hate of like oppression and people around you and keeping you down. And they put it into, music. And I think it's a lot with like hip hop too, especially with just like, instead of going out, doing some things, you can turn into art piece that can spread awareness.
Welcome to the Evolve Podcast, an open forum on personal growth and cultivating a positive mindset. I'm your host, Joe Fitzpatrick. Today on the show, we have Jetski Brinkley. Jesse is an advocate for mental health through his love for hardcore punk music. As the lead vocalist of GUARDRAILS from Richmond, Virginia, Jesse finds joy and release in jumping around on stage and screaming into a microphone. Inspired by bands like Touché Amoré and Expire, Jesse writes about his own mental health struggles in the lyrics to their songs on their debut EP titled If You Please, which they self-released in April 2022. Jesse shares his experience coping with anxiety and suicidal thoughts, as well as how music helps him get through it. He also books shows in Richmond through his side business called Love Tiger Connection, which promotes all things hardcore and adjacent genres as well. In addition to music, Jesse performs stand-up comedy. You can find him performing at open mic nights, working on his 5-minute set at bars and breweries around the city. Let's go. Jesse, thanks for coming on the Evolve Podcast. It's great to see you.
Yes, you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So first off, can you introduce yourself? Tell me what you do for a living and what you're passionate about.
My name is Jetski Brinkley. That's just a, nickname that I go by sometimes. I work in small business lending, and I work at a brewery on the weekends called Vazen. That's in, Scott's Addition area of Richmond, Virginia. And then I played a band called GUARDRAILS, and that's about it.
That's cool. Yeah, Vazen is great.
Yeah.
I really like Vazen because they have some pretty good non-alcoholic options as well as beer. I used to drink, but I quit drinking in 2019 for personal reasons. I just felt like it wasn't really adding much value to my life anymore, and I felt more comfortable being in social situations without alcohol.
I feel like alcohol.
I
feel like alcohol doesn't really have any positive things for the most part. Unless you like own it, then it's kind of like, well, then you're making money off of it at least.
Yeah. It could be a good business. How long have you worked at Vazen?
I started in, I think like August or September. I think it was September is when I started. I used to work at a comedy club downtown called Sandman Comedy Club. And then I kind of left that. And then kind of as I was leaving that, Sam from Vazen was like, hey, I just need someone to work Saturdays, pays pretty good. And I was like, that's pretty nice, because I work Monday through Friday, and then the comedy club wanted me like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So as soon as I'm getting off my like 9 to 6, I have to leave there immediately and then go work at the nightclub and then work comedy club. And then I'm like drained and I have to work Saturdays and Sundays. So it's nice to just only work Saturday and then have Sunday off and stuff like that. So
yeah, I actually met Sam recently. We're both into like bike riding and stuff around Richmond, and I know he's really into that, especially with mountain biking. He's a really nice guy.
Is it part of the Broad Street Bullies?
It was actually not on the Broad Street Bullies ride,
Yeah.
but I think I've seen him out there as
Yeah.
well. I'm a fan of that group as well.
Yeah, he started like a lot of the like social clubs and stuff that Vossen has. Because I know we have like a climbing club. There's like a mountain bike club type thing that they do, and then like a bunch of like I think there's like a run club and some other stuff there. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Do you
stuff happening there.
Do you participate in any of those groups?
No, I went to the run thing, or not the run one. I hate running so much. I went to the climbing one. I went climbing. One of my friends from upstate New York came down and took me to one of the rock climbing places here, and it was really fun. And I thought about going, but it's on Sunday and it's my only day off, and I just want to like do nothing, or maybe like go eat some places that I usually don't get to eat throughout the week or stuff like that. So I haven't done it yet. I think maybe in the future if I have more free time, but I stay pretty busy with band stuff and music and other things like that.
Yeah. So you said you work in small business lending. I actually also work for a financial institution.
Oh, snap.
One of the bigger ones in Richmond. I won't say who they are. We could talk about that more offline.
Yeah, for sure. What do you do there?
I work in back office customer service.
Okay.
In investigating merchant dispute chargeback claims.
Okay. Yeah. I just work at like underwriting, so I like go through like all the files and stuff.
Yeah, I've worked in some departments that have done underwriting as well. I started off on the card side of the business.
Yeah.
Now I'm on the bank side. So it's interesting to see how like the different sides operate.
Yeah, for real.
As you know, I'm more interested in photography and like creative types of services. So since it is a big company, I'm trying to get a different job in the same company doing that type of work, and starting to see some progress there. So that's definitely helped me out with
keep it up.
Yeah, maintaining that sense of purpose and seeing that forward growth to where I want to be. Can you tell me about like how you guys started doing what you're passionate about? Like, is that music for you, I would assume?
Yeah, music, or I like comedy a lot and stuff like that. But music was definitely a passion for me as a kid, and always dreamed of like being in a band. And then I contacted one of our guys, and he was about to move back to the East Coast. And I was like, hey, we kind of talk about music all the time. Would you want to like start a band? And then he ended up moving here. And then I had some old friends from the 757 area where I grew up, and we had always talked about doing a band. So it kind of just came together perfectly, just people that I knew wanting to start bands. And
yeah, so the person moving back from the West Coast, that was Cody, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm actually doing another episode with Cody as well coming up. So looking forward to chatting with him about that. And is Corey your friend from the 757?
Yeah.
Okay. I actually grew up in the Hampton Roads area as well. I grew up in Virginia Beach, and I went to college in Newport News, which is also technically part of that area.
Yeah.
And I met
Hampton Roads.
Yeah, I met I met Corey when I was going to college in that area. I was doing a lot more band photography, and
I saw that old picture you sent us.
Yeah, he was playing with his first band called Innovere, and I met him through some other mutual friends at local shows in like Norfolk and Virginia Beach, and they were really nice guys. And of course, as you progress through life, you lose touch with some people.
Yeah.
But sometimes people can come back into your life in different ways, and Corey's come back into my life through GUARDRAILS.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that and see how like people have changed. But where did you grow up in the 757 area code?
I was born in North Carolina, and then my dad's job moved us to like Deep Creek area of Chesapeake when I was 5. And then we lived there for a while until I was about 12. And then I grew up religious, so my parents would be closer to the church that we were going to when I was younger. So we moved closer to that. So we moved to Western Branch because we went to a church in Portsmouth. So it's like right across the bridge. So
Right. Yeah. So you grew up religious. What religion was that?
I grew up in a Baptist household.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
My mom's side of the family was Baptist. My dad's side of the family was Catholic. So
Okay.
my parents made the decision to raise us Catholic, my dad's side. But I've had sort of influences of both. And I'm not religious now. I definitely am spiritual in certain ways.
Yeah.
But I think that type of upbringing can be formative in some ways, and it definitely, even though I'm not religious now, I think it has sort of shaped my worldview in certain ways. Like what's your experience been with it?
I think things can be a good or a bad thing. I have a very addictive type personality, so I think that kind of stuff kind of helped shield me from probably being a really shitty person, because they do, with our religions, they have certain like guidelines, be a good person, and you don't have to be religious to be a good person or stuff like that. But I think like just growing, my parents always having that like do good, be nice, kind of like what the Bible teaches you, stuff like that. I believe a lot of that stuff helped me, but then there is some stuff that I'm like, I don't really it's not really my thing anymore. So
yeah, I hear you on that. So what is your why for doing what you love and working on developing that skill? Like, what is the motivation for you to like, do music and pursue that passion?
It just makes you happy. It's just one of those things where kind of get you. This is something I listen to all the time. I think my Spotify numbers are always like 100,000 hours every year or whatever. And I just always like being around music. I actually didn't really get to go to my first show wasn't until I was 18, because I grew up in a religious household. They thought every show had drunk people there and people doing drugs all the time, and thought I was going to get wrapped up in it. So I had to kind of wait till I was like older to get into that stuff, but which I think that kind of pushed me more so into wanting to do music. And it was always a passion. I grew up around it. My parents sang all the time. My mom sang in the choir. My brother played guitar a little bit. I started playing drums when I was like 16. So I always had a thing for drumming, but I do vocals and guardrails, so that was different. But I don't know, just music's just always been like a very when I didn't have anything, I always had music. So
yeah, definitely. Did you play any music growing up other than drums? Like, did you play in any Christian bands or like sing in the choir too?
I played snare I played trumpet in 4th grade, and I kind of liked that, but I was like, I kind of want to do something else. And then I did snare in 5th grade, and then I kind of didn't do anything musically after that. I think I got a bass in the 6th grade the next year, and I don't like ultimatums, and I had a few bass lessons, and I was playing baseball. I was playing like JV baseball at the time, I think, or JJV or whatever it was. And I think I like was kind of going over the same stuff from like the 2nd or 3rd lesson, and my teacher was like, "What's going on? Like, have you not been practicing?" I was like, "Oh, I've been kind of busy with like baseball practice and stuff like that." He's like, "Well, you either need to like either stop playing bass and play baseball, or play baseball and stop playing bass or whatever." So I was just like, well, if you're going to give it to me like that, then I'm going to quit bass. So I just never picked it up again. I'd mess around from time to time. And then I think I did choir at the church for a little bit. When I was like in 1st or 2nd grade, we did like the handbell things. So that's, I think, when the real first thing started. And then I actually went to school for music production. After high school, I went to college for music production. So
that's cool. Where was that?
I went online at Full Sail University.
Okay, yeah, I know that's a popular program.
I think people have either heard of it through commercials, or I think when Pandora was big, they had a lot of commercials on there for that. So
How was that experience?
it was awesome. You don't really do any like school work. It's all like art stuff. I think you have like, so the cool thing about it is instead of having like, you have to like do all these credits and stuff like that, they plan it out for you. So you don't have to like make sure you get this certain class and all this stuff. So you take one class a month and that's it. And you do it for 2.5 years all year round. And it's pretty easy. I think there's like 4 months where you take 2 classes at the same time, but it's spread out. So it's never like too much. They have live classes. If you can't do it online, then they record the classes for you. And it's always like the new ones, like the class that you just had on Tuesday. If you missed it, it's the class that happened on Tuesday. It's not like an old class with like the old Logic Pro, and the Logic Pro now has like all the buttons in different places and stuff. So they're very tech savvy and it's really cool. So I liked it a lot. It was super easy. It was fun. That was like my biggest thing. I was like, I don't want to be miserable for 4 years and not really do anything. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I feel like I still don't know what I want to do, but
we're all figuring it out.
Yeah,
it's part of the journey. So you don't work in music production now, but you have recorded some music with the band. Do you feel like that experience helped you like be a better musician when like going into the studio?
Yeah, I think it helped with like coming up with ideas and different things you can do. Because we did a lot of it's not like other music schools where you like go into like a certain instrument. It's just like learning production, stuff like that. So they kind of teach you like all the different things of like putting gates on things and different things you can do with different things. So and then we also did stuff with like kind of like editing with like video and music to where you can like sync things up and how to do that properly. And we did one that was like you made music for like this like video game thing, but has to like stay on like a constant loop, like all the like old Mario video games and stuff. Like it's the same loop, but they do it to where it doesn't like stop and then play all over again. It's a constant sound. So that kind of helps with like a bunch of different things. It just kind of taught me a lot about music and music theory and different, because you have to take music theory classes too, and you have to take like a orchestral class and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. And I got a lot of like inspiration. I got into like a lot of different music, like Japanese music and Latin music and different stuff like that. So
do you still listen to some of that stuff?
Yeah, I listen to like it's called city pop. It's like 80s, 90s J-pop pretty much. But it's really cool. There's one artist I like. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he did one album. You ever see that movie, The Endless Summer?
Yeah, I've seen parts of it. I've never watched the whole thing. But
yeah, it's pretty much, so it's pretty just like video and there's just like music to it the whole time. I think there's someone that talks like a little bit, but it's primarily just like,
it's mostly just surf videos.
It's mostly just surf videos, people on the beach, them riding dirt bikes through places near the beach, stuff like that. So there's a movie called The Big Wave. It was the exact same thing, but it was with like kite surfers and yachts and stuff like that. But he wrote the first half, and the second half he wrote with Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys.
Yep.
And very Beach Boys-esque, and it's super cool. And he sings in English, so if people like that kind of stuff, I can't remember his name, I might say it later, but that was cool. So I listen to a lot of that stuff. A lot of it I don't understand what they're saying, but it's fun and makes me happy. So
have you ever tried to learn Japanese?
I did try for a while during COVID. I tried to learn it. I was on like I did the little what do they call it? The little apps. I used one of those for a while, and I think I did it for like 6 weeks straight. And then I went on vacation, and then I just never picked it back up again.
Yeah, maybe you just need to go to Japan and live there for a year and try and absorb it that way.
Yeah, I'll get my passport. Yeah, I'll just pick up and go out there.
Yeah, maybe depending on what happens with Guardrails, I guess.
Yeah, for real.
Did you play in any other bands before Guardrails?
I played in only one band. A lot of the stuff before was more so just like friends I knew at church, because I played in like the church band, but it was just kind of like playing, other songs that have been written. Pretty much just a church cover band is pretty much what church is.
Yeah.
So just kind of messing around with that. And then when I moved up here, I went on Craigslist because I was desperate and I didn't know anyone. And I found some band looking for a drummer. And I played drums at the time. And I think I heard like one of their songs. It was pretty cool. And I played in this band called Wish. That was like a shoegaze, indie alt type band from here. That was pretty cool. Kind of had like a late Title Fight kind of like feel to it, but a little bit more like Hyperview Title Fight meets like kind of The Cure and like some other stuff. So
yeah,
it was that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I heard of them before. That's kind of like early 2000s.
Who?
Were they around in like the early 2000s?
Title Fight or Wish? No, we didn't start till. This is when I lived in Richmond, which I've lived here for 6 years. So I think like 2018.
Okay, a little later then.
Yeah.
Cool. I know with Guardrails, your current band, you're the primary vocalist, correct?
Yeah. We have some gang stuff, but yeah, I do all the vocal stuff.
You do most of the songwriting?
Yeah, I do all the lyric writing.
Lyrics?
Yeah.
Right. And in the lyrics, you have talked a lot about your mental health.
Yeah.
struggles with that.
Yeah.
Can you share the inspiration behind that?
Yeah. So for lyrics, I always want to write about stuff that's either like happening currently or just stuff that actually has a meaning to it. A lot of like hardcore stuff is about like just the hardcore scene in general, maybe not fitting in, people coming in and leaving the next day and not really being about it. That kind of stuff. But I felt like a lot of the stuff that is prominent in more heavier music or emo, alt, whatever type music is, there's a lot of like mental health issues. And I feel like not a lot of people really sing about that, especially in hardcore music where it's about being more macho and like that kind of thing, which I like that kind of stuff. And I listen to a lot of that stuff, but
right.
One of the first bands I listened to was called Expire. And a lot of their songs are about like mental health and like wanting to kill yourself and stuff like that. And I was like, I feel like that all the time. I identify with that. So it's like, that's really cool. And then that's kind of what got me into hardcore. And then whenever Guardrails came about, I was like, I want to really write about something that means a lot to me and something that I write, if 10 years down the road, I won't look back and be like, well, that was stupid. I didn't really mean any of that stuff I said. But so a lot of the lyrics are pretty much about me and my like struggles I've had with like just mental health issues, just like depression, anxiety, wanting to kill myself, stuff like that. So and then I also have like I used to have a lot of like anger management issues, and I would just like get really angry for no reason. So I have some stuff about that too, but primarily it's about trying to not kill myself.
Yeah. And I relate to that as well. I struggle with depression and anxiety, and I've struggled with suicidal thoughts as well. I currently take medication for depression, and that's really helpful for me. I also do therapy, which is helpful.
Yeah.
You go to therapy?
Yeah. I used to be once a week, and then I started to get better, so I would go every other week. Now I missed my last week when I need to set up my appointment, but I go every other week.
Yeah, I have had a similar experience as well with that. Like, there were definitely, earlier on when I was more in crisis mode, I would go like every week or every other week. But now I'm in a pretty good place, so I go once a month.
There you go. Hey, I mean, it still helps. It's just like mental health. Like everyone seems fine, but they're not fine on the inside. Like Just because you feel fine doesn't mean you are fine.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's always good to have someone to like just check in with on, life in general, like stuff comes up that needs to be talked through, or get at least another person's perspective on it, who's, sort of a third party outside of, your relationship. It is important, if you are in a relationship, to talk with your spouse or, significant other about what's going on with you. But it also is important to get someone else's point of view of it too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know sometimes like I've talked about stuff that's like or just more so like sometimes you just feel like you're weak, and you feel like if you bring up that one subject, you're gonna appear weak, or you're just like, I don't think I should bring this up. I'm very non-confrontational. And then you bring it up to your therapist and like, no, like you shouldn't feel this way. Like you should confront this thing. Like this is a thing, like this will make you feel better if you just confront it. And that was like a hard thing for me to do, is like, I like to avoid confrontation as much as possible until I can't do it, especially with having like anger management issues. I like worked very hard for a lot of years to like calm down and not like do anything that's gonna get my ass kicked or someone else's ass kicked. So I try to like avoid stuff, but he was kind of like, that's good that you're trying to avoid things, but also you need to stick up for yourself more. And if someone's like pissing you off or doing you wrong, like you need to like call them out and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that's been good.
How has being involved in music in the hardcore scene helped you with your anger management and, your depression, aside from just creating music yourself?
Well, hardcore is the best music to get your anger out. So that's one of the best things.
Take it out in the mosh pit.
Yeah, exactly. Or on the stage or wherever, just jumping around or pushing people or whatever you can do. It's taught me a lot about the world. I feel like that's what it's done for a lot of people is at hardcore, there's just so much great stuff, but there's also bad stuff. And in the world, there's a lot of great things, but there's also a lot of bad things. And it also just teaches you to work harder. If you really want it, do it. If you don't, then leave. And hardcore is everything that like, well, hardcore is one of the first things that I actually felt at home with. I've always liked like, Touché Amoré and like Bouncing Composure and, Blink-182 back in the day. I mean, I still like them now, but, I was like a pop punk kid a long time ago and, an alt kid or emo kid or whatever a lot. But I found hardcore by myself, and that was like one of the only things that I was like, I love this. I love every part of it. I love every flavor of it. Like it's all like good and delicious and a nice 7-course meal. So
yeah, and it's definitely a lot more savory than the sweet pop punk and some of the more melodic emo stuff. It's got some grit to it. I like that analogy. I know you said you like do a little running, but you hate running. Is that not correct?
I don't do running. I'm gonna actually start do running soon. I go out of breath a lot easier the more and more I sit at my desk all day. So the place I'm moving into / kind of moved into has a gym here and a pool. So I'm gonna start working on my cardio and stuff like that. So
that's good. Yeah. Cardio is really good for the heart. Mm-hmm. Also good for the mental health.
Good for
so you don't have a workout routine that you do right now, but do you have a plan aside from like doing the cardio that you like want to start, or are you still looking into that?
Well, I'm walking to work now, so that's at least something. I'll go walking around town sometimes. But I don't really have a plan in general. Probably just lift a little bit of something, do some push-ups, some sit-ups, get on the treadmill, play games on my phone at the same time.
Hey guys, brief pause in the episode to tell you about some of the great businesses that support this podcast. First, we got Weight Train. Use code EvolvedPodcast to get 10% off all Weight Train and Athleticity gym gear and apparel. No matter what you need for your workouts, they have the gear to help you get it done. And if you don't see something you want, email them at team@weighttrain.com and they will take your requests for new products. Visit Weight Train for all your gym gear needs. Next is True Nutrition. Use code EvolvedPodcast to get 5% off all nutrition supplements. I'm personally a fan of their soy isolate vegan protein powder, available in a variety of flavors and strengths, from light to heavy. They also have non-vegan protein powders if that's not your thing. I personally recommend the cinnamon bun and toasted coconut flavors in the heavy strength, and I add them to waffles, oatmeal, protein shakes, and ice cream. They're delicious. Check out their wide range of supplements at affordable prices that are third-party tested and verified for content quality. They are able to provide such great prices because the supplements come direct from the manufacturer without any marketing gimmicks or fancy labels. Visit TrueNutrition.com to supplement your workouts and your nutrition. Last is Hate Brand Goods. Use code EvolvedPodcast to get 15% off all Hate Brand clothing and accessories. Their goat shorts and shirts are the most comfortable clothing I've ever worn, and they have the coolest designs. However, their clothing drops are only available in limited quantities, so get your favorites while you can, and be on the lookout for other drops that you're stoked on. Visit thehate.com, spelled HVIII, for clothing to remind the world that you're not dead yet, and you're ready to kick today in the dick. Back to the show. Are you working on any projects, or have you recently finished any projects? I know you guys recently finished an album, right?
Yeah, we have an EP out that came out in April, I believe. I don't remember. I can't keep up with time. But came out in April. We already have like an EP kind of ready. We still got to finish some things on it, but we definitely have like 3 songs that are like done. We just got to go record them, but we're still trying to like get vinyl out for what we have now, which I still have to finish stuff with that for the inserts, for the packaging and everything and stuff like that. I started picking up guitar recently, so I have a few ideas of stuff I want to start, but I think instead of asking people, I'm just going to kind of do a lot by myself and see what I can get done, and then kind of throw people in after or record it. Because I did music production, so I know I have a lot of the tools and stuff that a lot of people don't have, especially with like Logic Pro or Pro Tools. I have both with school, and they gave me like a lot of stuff. So I can easily record like vocals and guitar and bass and stuff like that. And I have a lot of like inserts and plugins for at least a demo. Not saying it's going to be put on anything, but a demo to get something started or put out and see what sticks and stuff like that. So
have you recorded demos for any other bands or musicians?
No, I did stuff for myself a little bit in college, but I never did it for anyone else. I was always like, there was like some dudes that want to do a hip hop thing, and we sat around and it was literally just them just talking the whole time and like not doing anything. I was like, well, I'm not gonna be part of this. But no, I've never like recorded anyone else before or anything.
Is that something you want to do?
I'd like to. I just don't think. I mean, I could probably do it. It's just I just have a lot of things that I want to do. I want to get back into like stand up and stuff like that. So that's been like a thing I've always wanted to do since I was little. And I did like some open mic about a year ago, and I had really bad like sciatica pain, and it was hard for me to like. As soon as I got up from my chair, I like couldn't really bend over or do anything, and it made me not want to leave my apartment. So I stayed at my apartment for a while and kind of stopped doing that. but I kind of got back into it a little bit recently. I haven't gone up, but I've been kind of writing again and getting a little like 2 to 3 minute, 5 minute set ready so I can hit open mics again. So
That's cool. I know there's a pretty good comedy scene starting to
mhm.
grow in Richmond. And like I know Sandman Comedy Club downtown is a really good spot. I've been there a few times, but also like the smaller bars,
Yeah.
like Impanema have started
Mhm.
having comedy nights.
Yeah, Sandman's the club I used to work at, and then a lot of people that I met when I worked there run a lot of the open mics around here. So I know people that run them. I just haven't gone yet. And then I think they have a page online that says like where every open mic is at. So
Uh-huh.
and then I
Cool.
think there's one like right down. I think it's like 3 blocks from my work. Uh, so I think I'm gonna go to that probably next week or something.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what's the correlation between stand-up comedy and music? Like, do you just love being on stage, or like what's
Oh
the
no.
attraction there?
Oh, that makes me sound so like conceited, and I want everything to be about me. No. I don't know. I just love both things so much. I remember growing up watching like a lot of like I watched like shows with my family and stuff like that, but we used to watch a lot of like comedy together and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
we would watch Whose Line Is It Anyway all the time, and
yeah,
Sinbad, more clean like people. Um Not the best, but we watched Bill Cosby's stand up when we were like growing up at the time. That was different than it is now, but you
right.
know, but we watched like a lot of like stand up and comedy, and a lot of the stuff we did was just kind of like based around comedy, and our whole house is always kind of like who can make who laugh and stuff like that. So, but as far as like music to doing stand up, I don't know. It's one of those things like you just have to keep getting up there and doing it. Like you're gonna fail a lot,
Yeah,
and it's very humbling to put in all this time of practicing your stand-up lines in front of the mirror with a hairbrush and going to your practice space and writing all these songs and writing all these jokes and doing that stuff, and then you go and maybe that song doesn't do too well at this place and that joke doesn't do too well at this place, and it's all about kind of getting it back together and like, all right, well, how can we fix this, how can we do that? So humbling, and it's also just very awkward being up there, and I like putting
yeah,
myself in weird awkward situations, so that's fun.
yeah. And it's a practice, right? Like,
Yeah.
you have to practice at it if you're gonna improve, and you gotta put yourself on that stage so you
Mhm.
can practice your material and see how the audience responds to it.
Yeah.
I know that's all part of it. Like, you have to bomb in order to be successful.
Yeah, you're gonna bomb more times than you're gonna be successful until you turn into like Tom Segura. Then maybe he's surpassed his bombs and has been more successful than that. But
Yeah, he's awesome.
yeah,
Um, when you're in a creative slump, do you have any practices that you do to try and get out of it?
um, as far as like, so for songwriting, a lot of what I do is I listen to everything but hardcore music.
Mm,
Um, like for the next thing we're writing, I have ideas of it, so I kind of try to listen to like all these different types of music, all these different kinds of things, and then kind of find like a lot of songs of like what I want to convey and like how they do things and stuff like that. Um, and then just kind of like see how people use words and how they paint a picture and stuff like that. Because I can find a lot of stuff about like mental health and stuff like that in songs about sadness or like things like that. But then if I want to write something about love, I kind of need to like turn my gear over towards that way, and then, kind of get in that type of mood and different stuff like that. But with joke writing is more so like you have to go just do things. like you're not going to write jokes sitting at home on Facebook or Instagram. I'm sure you'll find some stuff, but probably what you're going to write doing that is what everyone has seen on Twitter like 5,000 times already. You kind of got to like go out, live life, put yourself in weird and awkward situations, because that's where like the best stories and like the weirdest things come from. Like, go do things you typically wouldn't do, go to places that you typically wouldn't find yourself on a Wednesday night or a Saturday night or a weekend or wherever. So
Put yourself outside of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you can create that space for growth and for new experiences.
Yeah, like there's a lot of like there's jokes about sitting at home, but it's not sitting at home. It's usually someone doing something. But like a lot of the jokes from their like oldest time and stuff like that are like, I was at a dentist and this happened, or you know, I was at a bar and this happened, or I was walking down the street and this happened. It's always usually somewhere that's not at home. And that's one thing I took I think there's like a masterclass website that has like you can learn like like cooking with like Gordon Ramsay and like all these other stuff. Well, there's like a comedy one with Steve Martin, and he was like, you need to like go experience life. That's the only way you can do things. He's like, you don't have to travel, just like take your dog for a walk, go to a coffee shop you've never been to, you know, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's called Masterclass. It's a subscription-based service, and it's really great because they have online lessons from the masters of whatever discipline that is. And you know, I don't subscribe to it, but I have watched a few of the videos that are on there, like directing with Ron Howard, for example. So there's some really great content there to check out if you're not familiar with it.
Yeah, there's one with Judd Apatow that's also really good too.
Yeah, I bet. Have you what was I gonna say? About your comedy. You know, I know you talk about your mental health in your music. Do you talk about your mental health in your comedy as well?
No, not yet. A lot of stuff I've written about is more, it's uncomfortable, but it's a little bit more like on the edge kind of stuff. It's kind of like reaching that peak where it might be a little bit too much, but it's not quite there kind of thing. But you have to come see me if you want to know.
I definitely want to. Do you have any shows coming up?
Not yet. All of them are open mic, so it's just kind of like a sign up thing.
Right.
But I know for the first while, my girlfriend's asked, and I'm like, you're not coming to any of them. I'm not going to invite anybody to them. I want to at least like kind of get used to it again. I know like I'm on stage with music and stuff, but that's talking for like, that's like a big difference between like being on stage musically and being on stage comic wise. It's like with music, people don't really care what you say in between. It doesn't really matter. Like you could just say nothing and that's fine. And then also if you're singing or yelling or moving around, you have other people that they're looking at. When it's comedy, it's just you. And it's what you say and that's it. Which also makes it a beautiful thing. And what I think makes it so like underrated to think about is that it is just you and a microphone and that's it. And you have to come up with this stuff that entertains people or makes them laugh and that kind of stuff. Because you may not have like a very great band, but your guitar player could dish out like the coolest like solo and stuff like that. So
yeah,
you have some backup with bands to where it's just you on stage. So
right. And I think that is an interesting point about, you know, what you say in between songs, because you know, you don't have to engage with the audience necessarily, but you can. And you know, what you do choose to say, especially in the moments of pause, especially in the hardcore scene, you know, when the songs can be, you know, really aggressive and violent in their own ways. You know, you have this moment of peace in between songs. where like everyone's just sort of like either in waiting for the next song to like kick back into full gear, or like taking a recovery period from, moshing or whatever. You have that like moment where you're like holding their attention. You can be more intentional about what you choose to say, and have a powerful impact. And there are certainly bands, especially now, in the crazy political time we're in, who are taking advantage of that attention, and also more exposure on social media with like people recording shows. So I think you putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation as a stand-up comedian, that can definitely help you to develop that more sense of intentionality for what you decide to say or not say in between songs at the shows.
I need to start planning that out better, because sometimes I'll like say stuff. I think I'll say stuff one time, the next time I'm like, I have no idea what to say, and I start rambling, and I'm like, I just need to shut up, and hopefully someone's ready to start playing, because I can't do this.
And that nervous energy can be part of it too, right? Like, that's something that you have to grapple with. Have you ever had any stage fright?
Like stage fright as where I've just like didn't talk or like froze up?
Yeah, basically.
Not really. I've had stage fright when you're like, how's everyone doing? And you hear like
chirps.
And that's it. And you're like, all right. So I guess that's how this is going to be for the rest of the night. So that can be annoying on stage, as far as like music and stuff. I only did stand up like once, and I loved it. It was like probably one of my favorite things I've ever done alongside music. But I didn't kill it, but I did get a few like actual laughs. It wasn't pity laughs. It was pretty good. So, but there was some stuff that bombed that I wanted to work on eventually after. I just never got back around to it. But I think I'll be back on it next week. So
good stuff. How do you practice self-care so that you can focus on your personal growth? Like, do you have any self-care practices that you use frequently?
After therapy, I go to Burger King every time.
Every time?
Yeah, every time. There's a Burger King right across the way. And I couldn't remember the last time I had Burger King. I remember having it a lot when I was younger. But I don't remember the last time I've been to a Burger King or I saw a Burger King that was actually open and not shut down. And I have to drive like 20 to 30 minutes to go to my therapist. So that's kind of like during my lunchtime, which my company's pretty good about it. You can kind of, if you're going to an appointment, they don't really care as long as you're taking care of everything. But
it's good.
I just treat myself to Burger King every time. Other than that, I don't really think I have like too much stuff that I do.
Well, you do go to therapy, that is a part of self-care as well.
I just try to like just do stuff I want to do and not feel bad about it. I kind of go eat whenever I want to or eat whatever I want to, and I'll regret it later. But life's short. I could die tomorrow. I might as well kind of eat what I want to eat and eat it whenever I want to eat it. Sometimes I don't eat till like later on in the day or eat earlier in the day. So I just try to treat myself when I can.
Have you tried the Impossible Burger at Burger King?
I did when it first came out. It was actually not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. I haven't had it from Burger King, but I have had it at other places.
Yeah,
it's a decent burger. Definitely got that meaty flavor and texture. And it's not technically vegan because they cook it on the same stove as the other burgers. So it's good that they have that as an option for people that want to try and eat more plant. But it's not for me. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be. What is an obstacle that you're currently facing or recently faced, and what are some practices that you use to cope with it?
Obstacles that I'm facing currently.
Are there any?
Writing jokes. That's always an obstacle. Sometimes I wouldn't call it an obstacle, but it's something that I always just try to make sure I guess it can be an obstacle if you let it be an obstacle, but just always being a good person to your friends or significant other, always like keeping yourself in check, because sometimes I can get lazy and we as humans just tend to get, about ourselves and think about us sometimes. And sometimes we forget that there's other people around us that might need us more than we need ourselves at times. So
Yeah.
that can be an obstacle. Currently, I don't think it's been an obstacle. Maybe it has been. Maybe I need to go check on someone right now. But at the moment, or I usually try to keep myself pretty open. If anyone texts me, I always try to respond back pretty quickly. If anyone seems a little off, always try to check in on them. Try not to downplay anything that anyone says, or I always try to read into things, but not too much. You never want to read too much into things, but
Yeah.
it's just always like being open and available and nice to people is always a good thing. So you can be a good friend and just a good human being.
Yeah.
You never know what someone's going through. So
that's so true. And you gotta just practice positivity as much as possible, because there's so much negativity in the world. But there's a lot of good too. And it sounds like you're contributing to it, which is great.
The good comes to bad, the bad comes to good.
Yeah, definitely. What is a quote or tip that you use to inspires you to keep going and stay positive despite hardships?
Positivity through hate. It's one of our songs.
Yeah. And what does that mean?
So I kind of came up with it randomly a long time ago. It was kind of around like the presidential stuff and things like that. And it's just kind of like, taking all your hate and instead of using it for like a negative force that won't really do much, turn it into a positive. It's kind of like hardcore music in general. Like a lot of that is about like hate of the government, hate of like oppression and people around you and keeping you down. They put it into, music. And I think it's a lot with like hip hop too, especially with just like, instead of going out, doing some things, you can turn into art piece that can spread awareness and, let people know what's going on that people might not know. And hip hop's definitely done that a lot. And if you don't think hip hop's done that, then you're not listening to the right hip hop.
Yeah. Okay. That's sort of where I thought it was going. But I appreciate you laying that out. One of the clothing brands that I'm a big fan of, they're called Hate Brand Goods. And they're actually one of the supporters of the show.
Okay.
And they talk about the hate, which is using hate as a motivator.
Yeah.
And using it as a way to, be more disciplined with, working at the things that you don't like, and that can be personal, like working at things that you don't like about yourself, like if it's your body image or, your style or your mental health or whatever it is, using that as an opportunity to make a positive change.
Yeah.
And you could apply that to, external circumstances as well, such as political or environmental things of that nature. One thing that I hate is that there's so much litter on the streets around the neighborhood. So I make an effort to pick up trash as much as possible so that, it's nicer for everyone.
Yeah.
And, my dog doesn't eat shit that she's not supposed to eat. Things like that. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely get a lot of positivity through negativity if you're focusing on the right things.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with people that are like on Twitter and on the internet all the time, like shit talking stuff and like complaining about the government for like 2 hours on the internet. Like, how about go do something? Or, don't sit and not, one thing I can't stand is people that complain about things and all this stuff and don't actually go try to change it and stuff like that. Like for me, it was like mental health. Like I used to sit around and like feel bad for myself, and I was like, I'm kind of being a little bitch. I need to like go do something about this. Like you need to like get off your ass, go do something to help this, because it's not gonna do you any good just sitting here doing nothing about it. Which obviously there's days where you're just gonna have a bad day and you are gonna not feel good about yourself, or your mind's just gonna be a tornado of just like bad thoughts. But if you're letting it prolong into like weeks and months, like let's try to help. Get up, do something, go for a walk, start with a walk. There's always something that you can, and even if you're failing, at least you're trying something and you're pushing forward to do something to help yourself or help that cause that you're so about. So
definitely. Who's someone in your life or just someone that inspires you to keep a positive mental attitude?
My mom.
Yeah. What about your mom?
My mom was always like super positive and just always try to like look on the bright side of life or the happier side of things, or that it could be worse kind of thing. And then you're like, oh, actually it could be a whole lot worse and stuff like that. So, and then my grandma was also very much like her, but she was very much like happy and always had a positive, like I swear if she met Hitler, she would try to convert him to like be a Baptist or something like that. She'd be like, oh, he can change and stuff like that. So
hey, people are trying to convert Donald Trump, so it's possible. What's one of your go-to meals that helps you to feel your best aside from burgers?
Man, my go-to meal, any type of like Asian food is always like my favorite, whether it's like pho or getting like dumplings and like a ramen bowl or anything like that. Probably like Asian food is like my happy, or just like a fried rice bowl, fried rice in general.
Great comfort food for sure.
Especially crab rangoons. Those are like the best.
Did you grow up eating that stuff?
Yeah, more so just like takeout Chinese and stuff like that. Yeah. I remember one of my friends, whenever we stayed at their house on Sundays after church, if we'd go to their house, their family always had Chinese on Sundays. So I would always try to go to their house as much as I could.
Yeah, the Chinese restaurants are typically open on Sundays and religious holidays.
They're open all the time. Christmas.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's all the questions I have. I really appreciate you coming on. If people want to connect with you and follow along with your journey, whether that's music or stand up, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find Guardrails at guardrails.rva on Instagram, or you can find me at Jetski_Brinks. Music streaming everywhere. Probably won't be posting any comedy. I might post some videos and stuff of me doing anything, but I probably won't let people know where I'm at, because I know like the worst thing about being in a band and doing comedy stuff is you have to like post social media stuff, which is like my least favorite thing. But yeah, I'll probably make clips of some stuff that does good or different stuff like that. But yeah, you can find me on Instagram. That's probably the best place. Yeah.
And do you manage the Guardrails social media account, or do you guys like share that? How do you guys do that?
Cody and I split that, and then I run. Oh, also I book shows at Richmond under Love Tiger Connection, and I run that page also.
Sweet. Yeah, I was wondering who ran that, but is it Cody and you, or
it was Cody and I, and then he moved like far away from Richmond now, so it's so much for him to do. So he was like, if you just want to start doing it, you can. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'll take
Plus
it.
Plus I know he has his other business that keeps him really busy too, which he's started to do full time now.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get into that with his episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks again, Jesse. Great talking to you. I hope you have a good rest of your evening.
Of course, you too. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, man. Later.
Later.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our podcast. I hope you got a lot out of it and it was helpful for you in your personal growth journey. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so on your preferred podcast provider. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Stay blessed and keep the PMA. Later.